Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang, back at it with another video. So, this is a game from a week ago. I apologize in advance, but I'd just like to remind you that I didn't get the time to make videos last week, so I'm making up by doing 2 weeks worth of content in the same week of videos. So, let us begin. This is my game against Sethey5, and let's get to it. E4, E5, and now I play the move Bishop C4. This is what is called the Bishop's opening, where instead of going Knight F3, you bring the Bishop out first, and it's somewhat common at the higher levels, and so people play it from time to time. After Knight F6, D3, now the main line, I believe, is C6, Knight F3, D5, Bishop B3, and Bishop D6, something like this. And then it's like, I don't remember. Castles? Maybe? I don't know. But I vaguely know this line. So after D3, Bishop B4. Now, one thing about Bishop B4 is that Bishop B4, although it is a check, right? Although you think, ooh, I get a check, a national master. Now after C3, Bishop C5. Now, the C3 is a move I wanted to play later. But now that after Bishop B4 I get to play C3, this move only helps me. So if you don't understand, let me try to rephrase this. So essentially what C3 allows me to do is Bishop B3, Bishop C2, and eventually prepare for the move D4. But if, let's say, you played Bishop E7, I would have to spend a move playing C3, right? But instead, after Bishop B4, I get to play the move C3 with tempo on a threat, and after Bishop C5, Knight F3, and here I decided, do I want to take the pawn? That's very dangerous. Why? D5. Simple. Just breaking the center. I have not castled yet, so the E file is very dangerous right now. So after Bishop B3, well, there might be like D takes E4. And then if D takes E4, well, you know the consequence. There's like Queen takes D1. So I would play D4, and it looks okay for white, but obviously it's not ideal. So I'm not going to take on E5 yet. I'm going to castle first. After D6, I play the move B4. Bishop B6, I continue pushing. I'm like, okay, let me just push. Let me keep going. So now comes the move C5. And the thing about C5 is that I still get to play A5. Right? So my main goal here is to play A5. So I would suggest in this position for black to play A5. Now here's why. Here's why A5 is better than C5. Number one, if I play A5 here and Bishop C7 happens, well, this bishop has, for now, no future, right? It's sort of blockaded by the pawns, and the pawns aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So knowing that, if you play A5, and let's say white plays B5, well, at least this bishop has C5, A7, and what's most important is that this bishop keeps an eye on F2. This is the most important part. The second most important thing about this diagonal is that black keeps an eye on when white pushes D4. That's another thing to keep note of. So that's two important things. So after B5, it would just be a normal game. But after c5, now there's queen b3, putting pressure on f7 and preventing black from playing the move d5. What I'm also doing is I'm keeping the threat of a5 open. I want to see if our friend Sethey5 still wants to play a5. So after knight bd7, I say, I like my position, I'm going to close it. So after bishop c7, you sort of see, this bishop, not much of a future here. So now I play knight a3. And my goal here is to bring the knight to c2, rook to e1, and play the move d4. Or I bring the knight to e3 and the knight to d5. Also a plan. So now a6 happens, and here I start to wonder, is b5 a move? It could be a move, or it could not be a move. So here I played bishop e3. I said, I'm going to keep an eye on this pawn, just in case if, black wants to rearrange the pieces somehow. Like if, let's say, the knight wants to go back to c6 and the bishop wants to come to g4. So in case if knight b8 happens, I'm going to take on c5. So b6 happened, and obviously I was like, okay, if I don't take here, b5 is going to come down, so I can't allow that. So I have to take. And here there are two options of taking. Knight takes b6 and bishop takes b6. Knight takes b6, I get to take the c5 pawn, and after d takes c5, there's bishop takes c5. So I would get a pawn from that, and obviously in this kind of position with the very not so great pawn structure, black doesn't want that. So black takes with the bishop, very logical, and after I say, I don't want you to trade my bishop. So, because here's the thing, I want this knight to stay here, right? Obviously, you want the knight to feel like it's passive. And I know that if I allow take, bishop takes, pawn takes, now the knight can hop to b6, and all of a sudden, black can think about moves like d5, right? So I make the decision to play b5 and close down the position. So after a5, I say queen b2 because I want to bring the bishop back and play knight c4. But this is a little bit of a misstep on my part because I sort of, relinquish the square of d5. I sort of forget about it. And when I realize it, I play the move bishop g5. I pin the queen and the knight, and after d5, I was like, wow, you want to sacrifice a pawn? Because the bishop pins the knight to the queen. So I decided, you know what? If you want to sacrifice, I'm up for it. So after bishop takes d5, bishop takes, pawn takes. Now if you play h6, I will take and play c4. Right? So that is how I will hold on to the pawn. But after queen e8, now I'm like, So obviously I want to hold on to this guy, so I play c4. And I honestly could have also thought about the move, I don't know, maybe even rook e1 with the idea of d4. Could be an idea, or even knight c4. All of these were in the bag. I just had to pick one of them. So I played c4, then a4 happened, and I was like, I want to put more pressure on this guy, right? So I play rook e1, bishop a5, good move, rook e2, and now knight g4, just a little bit aggressive because I'm threatening the pawn. right? And after knight takes, rook takes, it's not going to look great for black, right? So black had to play the move bishop, I think, bishop c7 to hold the pawn in this position. I'm not sure what else, but that's what I can think of right now. Engine says queen e7 for some reason. I don't know why. Knight takes e5. It looks like the computer just wants to set up some sort of blockade, but okay. Respectable. So instead, knight g4 happens and I play the move h3. The very silent kicking the knight away. And after, well, here, black could have also considered the move f6, but after h takes, f takes, I still get the knight takes in here. Or I could play knight takes g5, hop it in to e6. So knight gf6 happened, and then I had this move, and after bishop c7, I came up with this quite cheeky move, knight c6. Fun fact, the queen is trapped. How? You might be like, queen c8? Yeah, well, knight e7. And after king h8, good old fork, knight c2, and you can see that I'm slowly using my material advantage, pushing a few pawns, trying to utilize this diagonal. Knight f5, knight e7, and now this diagonal comes in handy. d4, knight g6, rook e8, and now the other rook to e1, and the very clever knight checkmate. So what really happened in this game? Well, I guess the first thought was the move bishop b4. Now, although this may not look like a mistake whatsoever, it gave me the tempo to play c3 to set up my middle game setup a little bit better. So I guess that was a little bit of a inaccuracy, but it's hard to say. So this part of the game was played pretty well, and at this part I do advise players to play a5, because I'm playing a5, so play it as like what is called a prophylactic move, a prophylaxis, which is basically preventing your opponent from doing what they want to do. So instead, c5 was played, and queen b3 and the move a5 really let the bishop go to a very passive square. And you see, I was slowly developing my pieces and using my extra space to be able to cushion all the pieces on my king side. And I felt like if black played the move h6 here, I played bishop h4, now there's g5, and after bishop c7, well, now black can consider d5, and it's going to be a game. So, obviously, d5 was a little bit rushed, right? Go with h6 first, and maybe move the queen out of the way, and you should be okay with pushing d5. d5 was absolutely the right idea, but it just came a little bit too early. So now I just have all this pressure. The fork came, and I used my material advantage to really press on whatever was left. So I hope you enjoyed this analysis video, and I do hope to see you next time. But in the meantime, remember to have fun, because without fun, the game will not improve for you. So, good tip. Keep that in mind. See you next time.